the point now where fans are saying it's either Super Bowl or bust, and the window keeps closing. So we're going to discuss that. We're going to talk about the return of Tarik Skubal, what that means for the Tigers. Hermdo's going to go into one of his long and famous rants, and who knows? We might have some other people that pop in the chat. This is the DFF. I'm Mark. Like and subscribe. Let's see what we got going on. Happy Sunday, everybody. Oh, baby. Perfect. All right. Well, we're just waiting on Hermdo. I want to thank everybody. You know, what started out as a Lions podcast has now evolved into a, weekly, sometimes twice a week, live stream that we do here. And then obviously it's available on Spotify as well if you don't have YouTube and you don't want to watch us in the live stream. But we have an opportunity here right now to really reset things at the off season. We have a podcast. Okay, check this out. Catching up with Cody podcast. Just came across your guys' page. I'm a huge sports fan and have own sports podcast. Thank you. Appreciate it. Catching up with the Cody podcast. I'm going to have to go check that out. You should go check that out. Thanks for checking us out. I appreciate you hopping in the comments, and hopefully everybody that subscribes to us subscribes to you. I know how important that is. This is really hard to build from the ground up. But thank you. But yeah, tonight we're going to talk about a few things. It's been, the Knicks finally do it. They finally established themselves as a championship basketball team, something throughout the 90s that they were always just, 2 or 3 players away. They had their dark era, and now they kind of came alive and looked to be pretty resilient. I really thought the West would overtake the East, but you looked at a really young Spurs team with a young coach, and you saw what Mike Brown brings to you as far as veteran leadership and veteran coaching in the playoffs, because we all know that matters. Our own Pistons fell victim to a second round collapse, even with blowing some leads. So anyways, it's nice to see that the offseason starts with that. We have the NHL winding up, but then we really get into the Lions. They're going through OTAs. Now, granted, not that serious, but gets you ready, gets you in that mindset of what do we have to look forward to this Lions season, right? Okay, so we're going to bring Hermdo in. This is where it gets fun. All right.
What's going on?
Always, we have Hermdo here. What's going on, brother?
Oh, nothing. Just walking around without pants on today. Looking forward to many exciting conversations we will be having about the various Detroit sports and the various Detroit athletes and all sorts of exciting, incredible things just waiting you, Lions and Tigers and Red Wings and Pistons fans. You watching the World Cup at all?
Yeah, actually, good call. I did. I watched the USA game, which was fantastic, right? So I did catch a little bit of the Germany game, which looked to be a blowout. A lot of high-scoring games I watched, right? So it's like your typical soccer is 1-1, 1-0, or 0. But we had, I think, a good first couple games. It's interesting. You know what, Hermdo, before I get cracking, it's interesting to see these games get played at stadiums in America, and they can't mention the name of the stadium for the advertiser, right? So they're at SoFi Stadium, and the SoFi is covered up, and all you see is stadium. So it's so really interesting to see the power of FIFA versus the power of the NFL, where they come in and play in your stadium, and they say, take the sponsorship out. We are only using our World Cup sponsors.
Yeah, that is interesting. That's I'm not going to lie. I really don't give a crap about soccer, but that's still a flex from FIFA. Consider the behemoth that the NFL is and the way muscle around the other like sports, regimes or what have you. And, you see like the power of FIFA, like pretty much everybody outside America loves it. Like, you see America, it's just like we got our Super Bowls, we got this stuff, and it's just like, yeah, I mean, all the soccer fans are like, yeah, but 7 billion people watch our sport and live or die by this sport. The UK burns down every time Man U wins something. It's just
Yeah.
people live and die with this kind of stuff. I just like, I'm passionate about sports myself, but I mean, I'm not willing to like hurt people over it, but I'm not
You
willing to
bring up a
like
good
burn down
point.
my city over it.
It's a lifestyle,
Yeah.
but you look over there, they don't really have a lot of there's not a variety, right? So it's soccer, it's football, whatever you want to call it. Obviously baseball
Yeah.
has grown to be more of a global sport. Basketball starting to pick up trends. But dude, when you are um talking about Europe, it's soccer and it's you're bred into a team, right? And some of them are being like a Lions fan in the
Yeah.
90s where you're just born into this awful team. And some you get lucky to be born into a dynasty, but
Hmm.
we do have MSU Detroit fan. I watched some USA, but I only watched for Detroit City FC soccer. I've been to a lot of DCFC games. They're absolutely fun. As fun as it is going to see for them to have a new stadium, it's really cool to go to something that's still so intimate and small, yet, it's a professional soccer league. So,
Yeah.
watch the Ford Field use a
Watch the Ford.
loophole
Oh,
saying Ford Field is named after them, not Ford Motor Company. They call Dallas Jerry's Land. I swear, it's like it's pretty crazy. I am, and then I'm like looking for all these signs. I'm like, they really covered everything up. If Detroit actually hosted a
yeah.
World
FIFA doesn't
Cup
like
game,
indoor stadiums.
yep. You know what? But they mentioned that this
Mm.
was the first time since '94 that they played in indoor games, and then one of them was down in Orlando in the '94 World Cup. But the fans, I guess, are ranting and raving about how nice it is because it's not sweltering hot.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of. I'm checking Twitter for this kind of stuff, but people are, all the Europeans, people from Germany, people from Scotland, people from wherever, Brazil and whatnot. They're coming to America. They're visiting America. They're like ranting and raving about how awesome it is. They're going to like Waffle House. They're drinking like gallons of Mountain Dew. They're like exclaiming over like the big rigs and lifted trucks. They're going to Buc-ee's like it's Muslims returning to Mecca or something. It's insane. And it's just like some days, just like I'm thinking to myself about this, and I'm like, does this mean I take America for granted? Like I have to like watch a European react to America until I appreciate it, or does this mean that Europe really, really sucks? But I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's all a
Just joking.
perspective thing, right? So we go over there, we ooh and ah over their culture. It's refined, it's traditional, it's small, it's quaint, and then they come over here and
Yeah.
they just, go crazy over the excess, the amount of
Hmm.
United States there are, and how you could travel 8 hours in one direction in Michigan and still be in Michigan, and yeah, there's no
Yeah.
Bucky's over in Manchester, right?
No.
Um, there's not even a Sheets gas station over there for crying out loud. And I haven't even been in a Sheets, but I know they're taking the world over right now.
No.
But but these
Yeah.
Europeans are missing out on Fago. Yes, they are missing out on Fago. Um, and yeah, I mean, there
Yes,
was
they are.
those two European British YouTubers. I forgot their name, Diane and John, or I don't even remember their name. But they're younger, they're famous. They came
Something
over
like that.
here,
Yeah. They were
and
all over Facebook. Yeah.
they were in St. Clair Shores, which was funny. They were like 3 miles from my house at that Jets Pizza at 13 and Harper. They were all up in the
Yeah.
UP, and they were all oohing and
Oh.
on. But it's like it's anything, dude. Um, you miss what you don't have. Um, Christ, my friend moved out to California for I don't know a good 15 years, and he missed Michigan basements just because how cold they are in the summer.
Hmm.
So it's the little things. Speaking of
Yeah.
Detroit City, apparently somebody
Yeah.
sold
Speaking of
Fenley
Detroit
the
City,
bear yesterday. What the hell is that?
that sucks. Hope they get him back. That's a shame.
I wonder how
These
that
damn
happened.
hooligans.
It used to remind me um, when they used to steal the big boys off the Big Boy restaurant and mounted in the middle of the basketball or the soccer basket football field at the high school.
Yeah.
The good old
That
days.
was pretty classic. Right
Well, Hermdo, you asked me what we were going to talk about this week
there,
because
boy.
it's the downward trend of the sports season in the summer. The Knicks win. I talked about that for a few seconds before you came on.
Yuck.
Kind of broke that curse and ends the season right. So now we can talk about endless trade opportunities for someone to come to the Pistons, whatever. The Red Wings. After your rant, I don't know how we top talking about the Red Wings for a while, unless something big happens. But we're rearing into baseball, football kind of combination where, you're starting to get quotes from OTAs. There were some passionate, interviews from Shep, and you start really thinking, okay, football season is around. It becomes evident that it's going to get real. We can't live in fantasy land anymore after the draft. You bought yourself a little bit of time. But, every time I type in the Detroit Lions, it starts to kind of tie into Super Bowl or bust, right? That's the mentality. Like, we don't have the new love we used to have in like 2023, 2024. It's I hate to say this, but kind of like do or die, right? They're not going to give us a chance to rebound. We don't have a history of winning culture. So where's your head on this right now?
I'm just, I'm cautiously optimistic. I think, we've discussed this before, but I'm willing, and I know the Dew might join us tonight, and it's going to turn into a big Brad Holmes hate fest, like it always does when he joins the stream. But she should boot him, I swear. I'm just kidding, or maybe not. But yeah. If the Lions, I'll just say this: I'm cautiously optimistic. I think they might have a bumpy ride because I know their secondary is torn up. But I think they got an easy enough schedule. They should be able to secure some wins. Probably be around 500, maybe a game above 500 first 5-6 games of the season. They'll probably be like 4-2 or something, maybe 5-3, maybe 5-2. I don't know. Going forward, looking at the schedule, looking at the matchups and what have you. That's my prediction, and I'm willing to be wrong on that. But we might have a bumpy ride. I think the Lions will be all right, but I'll just say this. I know some people, the Dew, is out on Brad Holmes, and he has been for a while. But I'm going to give him one more season. I think that's more than fair, considering where, the success he's brought the Lions. But yeah, if the Lions fall flat on their season, look, it's been 6 years. And I know we like seeing, Amon-Ra in the fourth round, Jahmyr Gibbs, and all these guys. I mean, yeah, we talk about his drafting and stuff. His last couple drafts weren't that great. Just not hit home with it. There's questions about this Lions team. I know that we talk about how he had a big boy grown-up draft. He stopped huffing his own farts and took this shit seriously.
Yep.
But it seems like, he's grown. Some of the stuff I've been hearing out of Allen Park, it sounds good. They have a good team. This is like the fourth year he ran things back with the same team. Things are starting to get old. Other teams are finding this out. Yeah, that's the thing. The Lions got to evolve. And, I as cautiously optimistic as I am, I'm prepared for the Lions to kind of flail a bit. Because this is the same kind of team. We've had the same systems in place. I know we got a new OC, and I know this offense has so much potential, but still other teams can figure us out. Yeah, if we don't get the NFC Championship this year, that's like, is that a fair expectation? I think so. Seeing this team, seeing what they do,
yeah,
I think that's a fair thing. Could they win the NFC? I don't know. I guess we'll see if we get there. But yeah, if they fall flat on their face and they're under 500 and they miss the playoffs or something, I don't think that's going to happen, to be fair. But if they have if that happens, if they have like a mediocre season and don't win a playoff game, then I think people, it's always going to be the Brad Holmes slaps because Detroit is a city of slaps, a bunch of slapdicks slapping around. There are still Steve Yzerman slaps, for God's sake. But yeah, with this team, I'm starting to just like, hey, Brad, you got to give us something. You got to shit or get off the pot, man. And I'm willing to give them one more chance, extend them a little more grace. But if they're bad out the gate, if they're like 2-5 out the gate or something, then, so something's got to. I'm not saying people should be fired. But their seats are going to get a little hot. It's okay to start asking questions. It's okay to start pointing out the cracks in the foundation, And I think, MSU fan, he did that. That's a fair take. I don't, I hate to see the guys fired. I love Dan Campbell. I think he is so much fun. He's a great guy, but where's the ring, big fella? It's been 6 years. It's been 6 years.
And it says, I don't want Brad or Dan fired, but something has to change if we fall flat in 2026. And I agree. And I think, I was thinking as you were talking, as I read that, what would have to change, right? We're saying we don't have to fire Dan. We don't have to fire Brad. And here's what I think would have to change. You'd almost have to take an LA Rams approach and start really getting serious about bringing in big-time guaranteed players and making those trades that say, I'm all in right now, right? We've always made good trades in the draft that say, at the draft, I'm here right now, I'm here to play. But in the offseason or even during this season, the acquisitions or the trades that are made, okay, the Rams are a prime example of someone who makes no bones about it. When they want a guy, they go get a guy. And I think that's the only thing you could put on there that said, hey, you got to start doing that. Like that is the absolute last stop before someone's getting firedville. And, it makes me wonder. It makes me wonder if you'll see something like that this season, because I don't want to say last season was kind of like an expected bubble season, but the way that they prepped for it, the hire of offensive coordinator, the decisions they made, the lack of movement in the roster, it was almost like, okay, we're going to let Pasquale, we're going to let all these kind of failed draft picks fall out. We're going to have the one gap here. Like it's, again, I'm not trying to be a Kool-Aid drinker, which the Duke calls me all the time, but it almost seems like they conceded a little bit last year in that sense, knowing they could throw, hit that prime button on the engine, pull the choke all the way, and start going at it again. But, time will tell, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good point. It seems like maybe there's not that much of a sense of urgency. I remember a couple of years ago during free agency, I wanted Montez Sweat. I wanted some other guys, and Montez Sweat winds up going to the Bears, and Brad Holmes was kind of sitting around just farting onto his hands and smelling them. I'm like, what are you doing, buddy? What are you doing?
Jarring it.
You got to get aggressive, man. You got to get aggressive. But it's just like, I just think Brad came from the Rams organization. She should do what the Rams are doing. That's a tall order, but do I expect him to go out?
Well, it's not even the Rams.
That's asking a lot. I know we're always asking that. A lot of the diehard, you always want the big move. You always want the big move. Getting Myles Garrett,
Philly makes no.
But the Myles Garrett thing, that was no. That's the way. I think that's the way our Detroit teams, our GMs are very. I hate to say it. I like a couple of our GMs, but they're soft. And look, Trajan Langdon didn't make any moves. Brad Holmes, free agency is kind of Steve Yzerman is a big pussy, a big sopping wet pussy. Scott Harris doesn't want to bring a bat to town.
Nope.
These guys are just like pussyfooting around. That's a good word. Pussyfooting around. You need to start making some big moves. You need to make some big goddamn moves. You need to pull up your big boy pants. Some days I think, look, we had a winning culture in Detroit for so long, and now it's been almost 2 decades without a title. And it's just like, we got to start pulling out the stare about maybe Yzerman was targeting Austin Matthews or something, and we didn't hear about it. Or maybe there's some behind-the-scenes stuff. But I don't, you know what? Make it happen. I don't care if it almost happened. I care if it fucking happens. Make it happen. Stop being pussies. Stop thinking you're good enough. The Pistons, all these teams need work. The Pistons look pretty close, but still, you got this whole thing with Jalen Duren and whatnot. You need a number 2 for Cade because Jalen Duren just does the Houdini and disappears in the playoffs. deal with that. What's Trajan? Trajan, you got to get aggressive. Go after Kawhi Leonard or something. You got to do something. I know some people don't want him. I'm just putting that out as an example.
Yeah, a
But
big
it's just
name,
like,
somebody
Brad,
a guaranteed winner.
a big name. Go
Well,
out
if
and
you
get a
look at
stud.
Hermdo, the top 5 NFL teams that make moves are the Eagles, the Rams, the Bills, the 49ers, and of recent the Jets because of I guess they're trying to right side the ship. But that's playoff contenders. Those
Yeah.
are NFC, AFC championship teams
Mhm.
every year. Those are always with the teams we just mentioned, besides the Jets, are the teams we mentioned about being Super Bowl bound.
Yes.
So I guess if you want to play with them, and you want to be that true number 5 team and pull the Jets out of that, it should say the Detroit Lions. And I think that's where we need to head
Mhm.
soon because, we do have to start throwing some firepower at this team, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I'm good with the offense. I don't really think, even from an offensive
Yes.
standpoint, drafting guys is a strength and is really nice, but the defense is where we're lacking, and we need star power. And I'm not saying it's going to be Max Crosby, although that'd be a great clickbait story and a great rumor. But they're not going
No.
to go out and get Max Crosby. They got Miles Garrett from the Browns because the Browns are a bad organization and finally caved and said, "Fine, we're just going to trade him." Right? Like we don't have that other luxury of going somewhere else. And we're not Los Angeles, so we're not that team where a player is just dying to go to. Um, but there are options, and I think this is a
No.
time for Brad, especially once the season starts rolling around, that to go out and get them. I mean, there's still names, free agents available, um, Cam
Mm.
Jordan, etc. But I just, you mentioned Trajan Langdon, he has time. You mentioned Scott Harris. I think, I think he's kind of like he's got 2 years of time tied to Kevin McGonigal. That's about it. And Steve Eiserman, he's all but done, shipped out of town.
Yeah. Hopefully. Yes, but okay. Yeah. I want to see more. You said, like, I mean, why not Max Crosby? I mean, come on. The guy's some kind of off. All Detroit GMs can't seem to make that big move. The last big move made by Detroit GM was probably the Goff Stafford trade.
It was.
Yeah, that's a
With
good
LA.
point. That's a good point. I'm trying to think of who's the last really big name guy that any Detroit GM brought in as a free agent. I mean, last time I recall, huge Pistons trade was Blake Griffin, and that was back when Stan Van Gundy was. Oh God, Blake Griffin. God bless Blake Griffin. He actually tried, but that was. Yeah, that was when Tom Gores wanted his own big three.
Yep.
And they were like 500 that year, and they got to the playoffs by some miracle and got raped by the fucking Milwaukee Bucks. Old Giannis was slapping us around like a rented whore. But anyways, Red Wings, there's Anthony Mantha. Oh, Jakob Vrana. Oh, God, that poor guy.
I knew that was going to
Yeah, Sebastian Kosa. When the hell is he going to be good? I'll play by Michael Postava. Yeah. Sebastian Kosa, okay, he made some noise in AHL, but what are you doing for me lately, buddy? They should have gone after the other guy. What was his name? Jesper Wallstedt. Jesper Wallstedt looks like Taylor Decker. Fuck off. But yeah, Jesper Wallstedt looks like a freaking looks like Patrick Waugh out there compared to like the nobodies we got as goaltender. But yeah, Trajan Langdon has got time. He's still very important to the Pistons. 14-60. Okay, yeah, I don't want to come down too hard on Trajan Langdon. Okay, I get it.
There's
I'll
rumors
get off
too
Trajan
that
Langdon's ass.
Yaxel is may fall to the Pistons, so it could be an interesting draft this year. Is all I'm saying. Yeah,
that would be eyebrow raising. Let's talk a double signing trade involving the Lakers, where we get Austin Reeves and LA gets Duran both re-signed.
Yep. I did see this.
I did that. I did not.
Yeah, the Duran would basically replace your DeAndre Ayton's ineffectivity or the role that
Yeah.
But yeah, listen. That's what I said. When it comes down to the season being over, now we have so many Pistons rumors that we're going to have to vet because. There's going to be a plethora of them until we hear rumors of contract talks getting closer with Duran's agent. or there's
Mm-hmm.
I doubt any side is going to tip their hand on the contract talks, but yeah, it'll be interesting.
Minnesota apparently offered Wallstedt.
Hmm.
Fuck. Do it, Stevie. Do it, Stevie. Who do we got? We got Gibson, who we've been running into the ground. We got Cam Talbot, who's like 50. Are you fucking serious? Wallstedt? I'll take Wallstedt all day. He's the one solid. I mean, do you want to run it back to fucking Billy Huso or Alex Dedukovic? Alex Dedukovic, who actually had a good, he actually won the starting role in Penguins after he left. Another example of, free agents leaving the Red Wings and actually having success elsewhere. But still, you know what? I just got a feeling. I just got this shitty feeling that let's say we get Wallstedt or something. He probably looked like fucking late stage Billy Huso or something with this fucking Red Wings team. We got cursed, man. This Red Wings this team is cursed. It's like the Yzerman curse or something. It's like back in the darkness of Harkness days, the Dead Wings days. And I know we probably don't want to touch too much about hockey because we beat it into the ground. But I'm just waiting.
I
you know what,
don't
Mark?
want you to get your blood pressure skyrocketing again.
Yeah. I got to call my doctor. I got a doctor's appointment soon, and you're going to tell me, hey, stop being so fat and stop smoking and drinking all the time. Haha, fat chance, doc. Fat chance. But anyways, I'm going to be dead before I'm 50. Anyways, yeah, I think, I'm just waiting for Yzerman's next big fuck up because I don't trust him to actually get any good return for Larkin. If that happens, it would be nice to make a Seahole a Michigan fan. I know keeps saying take Mara at 21.
I saw Mara mock to the Spurs with Mara with Wemby. Can you imagine that?
Jesus Christ!
It would be
the rich keep getting richer.
Team.
Yeah, good Christ. Well, Talbot is a free agent. Cost him Postava for the backup spot if you go internal. Trey Augustine got at least a year. All these guys are in the freaking. That was the same thing. I remember Jimmy Howard was in the freaking AHL for like 7 years before he got the call up. He had some decent years, but yeah, that's just the. Yeah, he was
some rosters that somewhat cared. That
yeah,
they all had a little.
Yeah, I mean, back in like maybe the early 2010s, like in the years leading up to the last playoff push, and you can say maybe the Wings still cared a little bit, but
just a tad bit,
Yeah, but he's just kind of forgotten to the annals of time or history or whatever. But yeah, it's one of those things. I could rant, but let you just like okay, we talked, Brad Holmes, and it's just like you got to be aggressive, man. These GMs need to be aggressive. Trajan, okay. I mean, the Pistons were hot as fuck at the trade deadline last year. He probably didn't want to mess up the chemistry, but you get one Trajan, you get one. Look, the Pistons are ahead of schedule. They're looking good. I love the trajectory this team is on. A lot of people are like, oh my God, blah, blah. And we saw the flaws. We saw the issues in the postseason, and I'm so happy that James Harden got arrested. I hope they put him away.
Good. Hope they give him life.
Because he's a criminal. He is scum. He deserves to rot in Sing Sing. I don't care. But but yeah, we saw the flaws inherent in the Pistons game. We saw some of the issues they were having. They need more shooters. They need, various things in and around. Maybe you're leaning on Duncan Robinson too much. Maybe you're relying on your bench too much, Dennis Jenkins and whatnot. He's a nice story, but I mean, let's be real here. But it's we see what
Hermdo, that's a good point. How long do you going to take that Dennis Jenkins story? Are you going to say, hey, great story for this season. Now let's get someone real here, right? Like, to me, nothing against Dennis, but you're really not counting on him to be the role he played this season. You're probably going to want to upgrade that name on the back of the jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing that drives me crazy. We get these guys, these dudes that come out of nowhere. It's like Linsanity or something, whatever they call that. Mm-hmm. But it's just like these guys that have great runs for a while. Maybe they have like one strong season, and you're like banking on these guys to like repeat the performance. You see it with the Tigers. Look at fucking Zach McKinstry. Look at Jahmai Jones. Why is Jahmai Jones on a major league roster?
Why did you call it?
It's just like, look, yeah, it was. What are you doing with your mustache, your shaved mustache, whatever you're doing out there, swinging at whatever? He's not a major league baseball player. He's like a triple A guy. He's a guy that should be down in your minor leagues, just doing whatever. He should be a permanent mud hen. But it's just, yeah. I mean, I think sometimes our GMs, they kind of buy into the hype sometimes, and we get guys that are like one season wonders, and we're just like, yeah, we'll keep you around. This Dennis Jenkins thing, look, he's nice. We're expecting Dennis Jenkins to repeat the success he had, and he had some success. And it's not a shot at Dennis.
No,
but I'm not counting on a guy like that to repeat his success. You're gonna have to slot in somebody who is legitimate at that spot. Don't take any chances. You got to be kind of mean. That's the thing.
Who's going to make him compete to play like he did this year, because that was his year to prove it.
Yes.
Someone who's going to give him that uncomfortability, and it's nothing to do with just him. It's when you have a player that has that first big year, right? You have to keep him humble. You have to keep him hungry, and somebody, please bring somebody in, right? Because we can't do it all the time, right? I would have to say, outside of Dennis Jenkins, the Pistons really only found a true diamond in the rough Cinderella was Ben Wallace, right? And that does not come along a lot. So
that's like once a generation kind of luck. You know what Ben Wallace brought to the Pistons? Max Clark and Max Anderson not good enough to beat out Jahmai Jones. That's a good point.
Yeah,
that's a good point. I figured Yeah, I'll go ahead.
I was going to say, not to defend Scott Harris because I don't want to, but I think Max Clark and Max Anderson are players that have kind of like a bigger ceiling, right? So there's a bigger long-term plan for them. And they're looking at Jahmai Jones as like the Band-Aid, the stopgap, the player you bring in, and you're not expecting him to be the fan favorite long-term plans. You're going to have some fun with him. You're going to use him, burn him out while you can start to massage the Max Clarks and Max Andersons. So that's just maybe, I don't know, my opinion.
Yeah, they'll be here in I pretty much, and I said at Hermdo guarantee that Max Clark would be here in September. Zach McKinstry's a good story. Played at Central Michigan, helped Great Lakes Loons in the Midwest League, but now it's over. Yeah, you got to be cruel. That's the thing. We fall in love with these nobodies. We fall in love with these people. That's the classic case. Because Trey Sweeney's out for the season and Javier Baez is on 60-day IR. Yes, that's true.
They would just
Detroit fan. We should give this guy a mic.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, just see you later, bro. Thanks for the one hit you gave us in 6 months. Yeah, we should have this guy on. I swear to God.
Yeah, whoever you are.
He's giving us half our show notes.
You should definitely come on. Oh my God, he could take.
Yeah, definitely. I'll welcome whoever. Yeah, I mean, anybody's more entertaining than Hitch. I mean, you got a camera that's better than potato quality. I mean, I don't know if you could smoke and drink as much as Hitch, but I'll welcome you on here. But it's just we gotta be the mean guy. You gotta be the like our GMs. You gotta be, what have you done for me lately? That's what the serious big boy teams did. Now the Lions did that in some regards with some of their running backs. Remember, what was his name? The guy. He had like Williams. 16 touchdowns and like Jamal Williams. I knew it was something with a J.
Yep.
But we booted his ass right out of here. It was just no. He did all. He broke Barry's records. Yeah, Alex Anzalone too. Hi Alex.
We didn't fall in love with him. We didn't make him the highest paid Anzalone ever. We said, listen, you clearly, from a monetary standpoint and the role you play, it is an opportunity to move on. Then take it, because they're trying to turn the keys over to Jack Campbell. That's what you want, anyways. You want to get younger at all these positions. Yes. Football is a young man's game. Again, we talked about this before as Lions fans. Certain players come in and help you with the rebuild, and you fall in love with them, and you're like, we can't let them go. No, you have to let them go. That's what good teams do. They move on from players like this because they draft well, something we're not used to. So when it comes down to the Pistons, and I don't have any reason to believe that Trajan Langdon is saying this is my roster. I think he said, let's see the way this thing plays out before I even touch anything or commit to anything. Everything was working in his
Yep.
favor. There was no real reason to go out and make a big move and jeopardize, maybe your 5-year plan you had on that team. Same thing with the Tigers. It's probably going to be trade Tarik Skubal. We already know what that's going. But the Lions, they've
Hmm.
narrowed it down to just listen, dude. If you're playing above 500 winning football this year, you got to go out and make a big move, a big splash, something that says I'm serious about getting to
Yes.
the NFC Championship game, getting to the Super Bowl. You have to be up there with the Rams, the Ravens, the Eagles, teams that are constantly swinging for the fences and trying to do the right thing, not the stupid thing, but the right thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't do anything dumb. But I mean, that's like obvious. I mean, obviously, you want him to go swing through the fences, bring in a big name, but you got to be smart about it too. Jamal's not been able to do anything since leaving Detroit. I think in
Exactly.
2025, we had a cup of coffee with BJ at some point. Yeah, you got to just recognize the guys. Jamal was the beneficiary of a very stout offensive line.
Yep.
Jamal had his moment in the sun, and then he disappeared forever. But thanks for the 16 touchdowns, Jamal. See you later. But
I
yeah, I
can't
just
believe I'm
think
seeing
you got to
this,
be the
Hermdo.
guy. Yes.
There is an article that just popped up about the Lions potentially re-signing. Stay with me.
Oh
We're
no.
good, Zadarius Smith.
Oh, what? Okay.
He was
No, he's cooked.
cut from the reserve retirement list after the Eagles signed AJ Epinesa. He's
Yeah.
like, it says humor us, please, right? Like, I mean, come on, guys, are we really even going to go down this route? Like, not the Joey Bosa,
Frank
not the
Ragnar
Cam
has a better.
Jordan.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Can we
Frank
just?
Ragnow.
No, I don't see. If Holmes makes this move, I mean, I don't know who's putting this stuff out here, like Detroit Retard Daily or something, but
It's
no,
on
I
the
mean, come
sideline
on,
report.
Zadarius Smith sideline. Come on.
Yep, that's
Am
what
I
made me
being too
click on
mean?
it.
I don't know.
No, no,
I mean,
no.
Zadarius had a little bit of fun here, but yeah, oh, Christ Almighty. You know, don't get my blood pressure up, Mark. Don't get my blood pressure up. I'll go with bust.
Yeah, it's
Yep,
Super Bowl or bust. It really is.
Super Bowl. Yeah,
Appreciate the
yeah,
comment.
it is. I'm expecting it. It's not bad to have high expectations. Look, it's the Lions, and you got to say, look, maybe your window's closing a bit, your roster's getting older, but you got to go for it. You got to go for it, and
Well,
when
the teams
I
we
see what the
just
Lions
mentioned,
do, and I see what the
isn't isn't
yeah,
that what they say every year? The Eagles, the
yeah,
49ers, right? Like it's Super Bowl or bust for them. That in the
yeah,
bust comment is kind of like obviously you look at the Bills. They bust, they blew up and fired their head coach.
yep.
It's these general managers and it'll be I personally think Dan Campbell will be gone before Brad Holmes will ever be gone. That's just me.
Possibly, he did. They did hire Campbell before they hired Holmes. I think that might play a factor. DeAndre Swift, yeah, for David Montgomery and Jameer Gibbs, our run game went for middle top 5. Yeah,
Yep.
DeAndre Swift, he had some fun here. It wasn't going to work out, but they did right by DeAndre Swift. They shipped him to Philadelphia like he wanted, and he had some okay times, I guess. But yeah, I really followed his career that much. That's forgive me, but it's just yeah, you gotta move on from guys, and I guess David Montgomery was the guy they moved on from as well. And I'm still kind of I'll admit I was a little bummed out about it. I mean, sure, sometimes you get bummed out. I'll admit I was a little bummed out when they got Jamal out of here, but it's just you just got to move on, and you got to
Here's the way
be
I
the big
look at
boy.
it, right?
You got to be the mean guy. Yeah.
David Montgomery was a bridge the gap, came in here because again he wanted to be a starter, and we had Gibbs who
Mm-hmm.
was a rookie, the unknown. So at that point in time, that Sonic and Knuckles combination was deadly because teams really didn't know how this whole Jameer Gibbs thing was going to play out. So once we got a season of tape on the Sonic and Knuckles combination, teams started to figure out, okay, if David Montgomery's coming in, this is what happens. It started to become a little predictable. And then the offense obviously evolves to Jameer Gibbs is a weapon. He is a once in a lifetime weapon. So you're going to start creating an offense that's going to favor him, right? You're going to pay him that money. He has all this talent. You would be stupid to waste it. So now it
Yeah.
starts to evolve. And like we said, good teams move on from guys that don't have a good fit anymore. And he has a better fit in Houston, probably better financially too for him in the long term. And then you bring in a Pacheco who has more of a complementary style, can still pass block really
Yeah.
well, can still, run block
Mhm.
really well if you want to bring in two running backs. He can do everything you want him to do, but it's more upright, more burst. So the looks are going to be fairly
Mhm.
the same. So I just think that it sucks to lose players like that, but good teams move on in situations like that. And
Yes,
that's not something we typically have done until Brad came here. So whatever, it is what it
that's
is.
true.
I don't
That's true.
potentially seeing us go get Darius Smith, but I would like to see an aggressive move for somebody else out there because guys, it's
Yeah.
kind of strange to say this, but we need to kind of start pacing ourselves with these franchises and saying, what would the Eagles do right now? Well, they go out and sign a veteran pass rusher, right? Um,
Yeah.
it's probably going to be the same thing the Ravens do, since they missed out on Max Crosby, although they did get Trey Hendrickson. But you get my point.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And we see what the Lions team could be, and we see the success they could have. We see them playing at such a high level, but they're just going to need. It's just you see you get the success. You see them falter a bit, and it's just like what you got to do. You got to put your big boy pants on and get aggressive. I feel like our running back room is now thin. Yes, Gibbs is the top three running back. I don't mind Isaiah Pacheco. After that, who's that? Vaki. That's the thing we talked about. Simone Vaki
Yeah.
before 2024 draft hasn't done a damn thing, and I'm kind of wondering about that. Like, what's this guy's role going forward? And that's a valid concern. Our running back room is a bit thin. I don't know how Isaiah Pacheco is going to factor into this system. I know Drew Petzig kind of prioritizes running backs and whatnot along with tight ends, but what does Isaiah Pacheco bring? I'm not expecting the Sonic and Knuckles connection. I think, he could fit in well, slot in well, like you said, Mark. But yeah,
That's a fair
those are
take.
some questions.
Yep.
Those are questions worth having. That's a fair take. And some of this stuff, you start thinking about it, and you're just like, maybe this road will be a little bumpy, but the Lions are going to have to overcome some adversity, and they're going to have to reach a new level. Otherwise, people are, we're going to have a lot more dudes out there wondering, hey, what's going on with this Brad Holmes fella? Is he going to be the guy to take us to the promised land? But personally, I don't think they get rid of Holmes anytime soon. I don't think he's as safe as Iserman, but I think he's going to be here for a few more years. I think we don't have to really. That's probably a good thing, I guess, as of right now. But I think Brad Holmes, bought himself a few more years with the success he did bring the Lions so far. But yeah, I just hope they fix the O line because the Lions offense is still very elite. Honestly, that killed us more than John Morton's self sabotage. Yeah, the O line. I'm paying close attention to Blake Miller, paying close attention to Penei Sewell, the guy whose name I forgot a couple weeks ago. But yeah, I'm paying attention to it. I'm paying attention to Cam. What's his nuts? I'm paying attention to the outside guys. That's something to watch. There's some question marks. How are people going to slot in? How are people going to fit in? And the Lions might be lagging a little bit. As far as our offensive playmakers go. I mean, obviously you got Amon-Ra St. Brown. You got I do like having Mike Kafka as PGC. Drew Petzig does run the plays while Kafka does passing plays. I like that. I kind of like that tandem there.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I was saying, you got Jameer, you got Amon-Ra St. Brown, you got JMO, you got Goff, still an elite arm talent, who still had a great season last season despite all the shortcomings, despite John Morton's goofy ass play calling and whatnot. But we still have this still is a prime group of guys on offense, but just the people around them, you got to start wondering. Some of the guys on the offensive. I mean, like as far as the offensive line goes, I mean Detroit had such a stout offensive line with Frank Ragnow and whatnot, but You look at it now, and you're kind of like, there's some question marks. And that can affect the team. Mike Kafka's backup OC option, kind of like what they did in 2021 with Anthony Lynn and BJ. Yeah. It's going to be that kind of situation. We'll see how it plays out. We'll see.
Well, if you want to say that, you can take a look at the top remaining NFL free agents right now, and it's interesting to see these names. Maybe it makes me feel old, but Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, Taylor Decker, and Joey Bosa. It's like if you think about longevity and what have you done for me now? Those are your remaining free agents, right? A couple of years ago, those guys would have all been looking up at 4-year contracts. And then the running back position, although thin, there's still a lot of options out there as far as veteran depth. You've got Najee Harris, Joe Mixon, Kareem Hunt, Miles Sanders, Austin Eckler. So guys that Nick Chubb, who can perform at a high level when called upon on, but you're not. Jamal Williams, ironically, is a name available.
That is hilarious.
And Netflix, Craig Reynolds. So I would expect after the Lions start making and all the other teams start making these roster cuts, you're going to see some of these veterans get picked up. These guys know what they need to do, and they don't need to go through camp. So, yeah, it'll be interesting, Hermdo. It really will be.
Yes, it will. Absolutely. So, yeah, we'll see what the moves Brad Holmes is making. People are getting antsy, though. I'm getting a little antsy right now. I got my concerns about this season going forward. Mike Kafka was actually decently saw, even when he came Giants interim head coach. The Giants had a respectable offense with famous Jameis as quarterback. God, Jameis Winston, what a career the guy's had. Well, what a career. You can't help but love the guy.
We saw firsthand Mike Kafka offense. I was at that game with my wife. And, yeah, that was the overture. Yeah. That was the fucking but explosive, right? You saw the defense just completely blown away by a very fun, explosive offense. And when you think of fun and explosive, you think of J-Mo, you think of St. Brown, you think of Goff, you think of the good old days of the Ben Johnson offense. So, yeah, for all the right reasons, I'm not worried about the offense. I'm really not. I'm just more cautiously optimistic about the defense, and I'm curious to see how they handle this carousel of players as Brian Branch is still out, Kirby Joseph is still out. Something that I don't want to overlook. We do have some exciting additions to the team, but that's what they say. Defense wins championships.
Yeah. So I guess we'll just see how it all plays out. I'm just like, I don't want to be like a cop out. Just like, oh, Hermdo, you always say that. But
yeah,
it'll be an interesting season. This could be a transitional kind of season. This could be a make or break kind of season. If we see, if the Lions miss the playoffs again, sorry. But, if the Lions miss the playoffs again, that'll be, a real kick in the balls. But they have their issues. We've covered it a lot. I got a couple things I could share if you don't mind, but as far as Lions OTA go, it's pretty much just like a Lions. We want to talk about Tarik Skubal. Do you want to move on? You want to talk about OTAs, or you want to get into?
No, we can still talk about OTAs.
Tarik Skubal a little bit.
No, we could do Skubal as well.
Let's move on to OTAs a little bit. Let me share my screen. Make sure I got no porno open. But let's take a look at Lions. Dan Campbell shares Blake Miller impressions exiting OTAs. Let's take a look. I think it's weird. But, like most expected, the Lions addressed this offensive line with his first pick in 2026 NFL Draft. Lions selected Clemson offensive tackle, They wrapped OTAs on head coach Dan Campbell's ass his early impression of Miller. Well, there again, he wants to do it right. He tries to do what you ask him to do, what he's coached to do. It's early. There's things he learns every day. Look, even for not being a physical aspect to this with pads, that D-line doesn't cut him really any slack either. Whoever lines up with him is trying to make things difficult. So I don't know what to read in from that, but the kind of part of it, so Sewell went through a little bit, Hutch went through a little bit. They just kind of want their successful reps in a bad way. So he's learning. As long as he continues to grow and just take these small steps every day, He'll be fine. So maybe, Blake Miller, some growing pains. I don't expect this guy to be like some, he might not be a stud out of the gate, but still it's a high draft pick. This guy's going to be, one of the anchors of your offensive line. What do you make of this, Mark?
I make of this as, a generic ass response because, yes, this is OTAs. The real test will be to see how he plays in pads, but this is what we expected out of this guy. There's nothing super exciting about him other than he's very coachable, very consistent, Mr. Reliable. I think this is just one of those things you're going to have a hard time really nitpicking until you see about 5 games on him. To think that he's going to lose a spot to Larry Borum is laughable. I don't think Larry Borum will be the starter. He was clearly brought in here to push him to be just a depth piece. But look for this to be kind of like a no drama position battle. The offensive line, in my opinion, is pretty set. They made it clear by who they brought in and who they've drafted in the last couple of years. Tate Ratliff looked really good last year for a rookie, graded out really well. You can take what you want out of those grades, but to me, it just looks like, can we stay healthy? And can we continue to bring guys in to add depth? So I'll be curious to see who gets cut from the depth side of things, who they say is going to be number 2 to Cade Mays, who's going to be, is Larry Borum going to work out? Because when it comes to Miller, I think he's just going to be one of those dogs that you fall in love with, how simple, how consistent he is. He's just probably going to be one of those other big slugs you love on that offensive line. But we got so much younger at this line. I can't tell you how excited I am. And, they did a little article on Frank Ragnow and how he wanted to come back last year. And, shame on them for not knowing that was going to happen. And it sounds like he didn't know either. But this year, there's no surprises. They came swinging for the fences to readjust this offensive line.
Yep. No, that's good. I got no issues with anything you said. If Larry Borum beats his kid, another look, some of this other stuff. We got OTA Week 3 observations from Lions beat reporter Tim Honeyman. It was a good situation, 11-11 period at the end of Thursday's practice. Offense is trailing 31-27 with the ball. At the defense's 44-yard line with 40 seconds of the clock on timeout. A false start tackle, Quarterback Jared Goff on wide receiver Amon St. Brown. Right here, connection along the left sideline with St. Brown. Able to get out of bounds. Goff hit St. Brown on a crosser, 17 more yards down. The 10-yard line with 7 seconds left for a timeout. So the next play was a near touchdown in the back of the end zone with reaching toe tap catch by wide receiver Jameson Williams. That was called incomplete. His first foot down looked like the clip line. All right. Branch update. Here's what we want. Pro Bowl safety Brian Branch was an observer at Thursday's practice. He continues to rehab the Achilles injury suffered last December. Lions head coach Dan Campbell talked about Branch's timeline for return before this Thursday's practice. Campbell said Branch's rehab is going well, and there's been no setbacks. He also said Branch would be candidate to start the season on the PUP list, but they won't know for sure until they get to training camp. And closer to the start of the season, the Lions are going to be cautious with Branch per Campbell to make sure he's 100% healthy before letting him return. Okay, that's pretty much excuse me. That's pretty much what we already knew. Going forward. Oh, am I showing my screen? Hold on a second. Okay. Can you see this? Okay, I don't know what the deal is. Hold on. Oop, my bad. Hold on. Screen. Okay. Share this screen. I got to keep fucking around with it. But, yeah, okay, so I'm not going to read too much. Already had an offensive team with print position for the playing field after Daber. They got some photos and just got around. Playing very exciting stuff. This is another concern with both guys. With both Branch and Kirby, not taking part of the Branch and Kirby's give veteran Clark both safety. He's been Christian as the first unit. Clark, the defense. He's picked up Kelvin Shepard, scheme really well so far. The next part of his evaluation will come when the pads come on in camp. So yeah, this is just day 3 stuff. Just some quick observations and whatnot. Pretty much stuff we already knew. Yep. I hadn't heard about Chuck Clark or Christian Izian, but yeah, I don't know if those guys will be featured in the opening day lineup, but a roster, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it's just pretty much same kind of stuff, par for the course. We might have kind of a Legion of Whom situation taking place on defense, like it was last year. But so we'll see how this all shakes out. I don't know if you had something to add about this, Mark, but.
No, I mean, that's like you said, it's OTAs. There's only so far you can take it before you cut this up every other which way. Something else big that happened was Tarik Skubal did return to the Tigers. I feel like we can't overlook this. He comes back to a Tigers team that is still 9.5, 10 games back. They're putting all these articles about, hey, listen, we're not trading you, Scoobs. You're sticking around. We all think that's bullshit. To me, I think it's bullshit. I think he's gone. Every year he's just auditioning for the Dodgers.
Yeah.
I keep saying that. But, he comes back. He has a pretty decent first start, lets up some home runs.
Yeah.
Which that's kind of how he gets his ERA up there as he lets dingers in. He's not, going to let a ton of guys on base. But, shamefully, you and I talked about Justin Verlander rehabbing in Toledo, and then he gives up like 5 home runs or 6 home runs. So it's safe to say that little series win they had with the Mariners and Tampa Bay was just more of like a good old fluke than anything, because they're going back to sucking.
Yeah. I'm like 6 out of 7 with was just a Guardians, and the Guardians believe that they did lose Jose Ramirez, but sucks or something. This might be their season, man. This might be their season to kind of they're together. They got season on offense. And should be division, but I mean, look at the Guardian season. Do some shit to me. Petrie. Detroit, I'm not evenly matched the issues not like Matt and games, but Cleveland just shows you, Detroit just can't beat Cleveland, not when it matters. Cleveland still clowns on them. They did it last season, even when the Tigers were super hot to start the year. But yeah, this is still, I mean, I know you got your good series win against the Minnesota Twins and whatnot, but the Twins are hot dookie, but still, if you can't beat the Guardians, you're not getting anywhere. And, you might have to worry about the White Sox now coming on up. But, I mean, let's take a look at the standings at Raz right now. But let's get into just before I do that, let's talk about Tarik Skubal. He had 4 2/3 innings against the Guardians, allowed 3 runs, 2 earned on 5 hits, striking out 4 and hitting up to 99.9 miles per hour on 38 days after elbow surgery. But yeah, he's looked a little human there a little bit. But let's take a look at these standings. Like I said, typing as fast as my fingers can carry me. But yeah, let's hold on. Let me share my screen here really quickly. It won't be standings. Okay, here we got White Sox on top, tied with the Cleveland Guardians. We see what else we got here? Hold on one second. Sorry. The Twins, square in the middle, 6.5 games back. Tigers 9.5 games back. It's going to be the Tigers and the Royals kind of competing for the bottom of the league. That's what I'm seeing here.
Yeah.
Looks like Rays fell off a bit. The AL is just dog shit this year. Yankees and Rays. It's probably. I mean, God, Yankees are probably. I mean, Boston's still a mess. They're 13 games back. Angels are hot. Dookie. What else we got? We got the Rockies. You're right. You're right in Rockies territory. You have 29 wins. They have 27. You see the Braves pretty much. Yeah, I think the NL is going to just be. It's the same thing with it's like I look at the National League kind of like the Western Conference.
Yep.
In the NBA, where it's just like you got all these teams out there. Same thing with like the Western Conference and the NHL. The Western Conference in some of these sports is just so dominant. And same thing with the National League. I mean, put up. I mean, the Rays and Yankees might be decent, but I mean, come on, like it's put up against the Brewers or the Braves. I said last week when the Tigers were on that June streak, I said the goal was to get back to 500 by mid-July. Tummy, I don't know what that means, but I just don't see it happening, man. I don't see it happening. I know I buried this team earlier. If they want to save the season, I just don't think they got it. Jack Flaherty's on the 15-day DL. They just keep getting hurt. I mean, Justin Verlander is 80 years old. What are we doing? You know what they're going to do with Justin Verlander? They're going to put him in a wheelchair and wheel him around the bases one day, and then he's going to sign a couple bobbleheads. They'll have they'll have like a drip feed of some medicine for him. He'll be in a bathrobe. He'll be, he'll be like catatonic. He'll be out. All his pills will be like drooling into his lap. You'll see old man Verlander go doing his ceremonial run around the bases in his wheelchair as the nursing home staff, carries him around. But I mean, come the hell on. This is just, oh my God, what the hell are we doing here? But yeah, Tarik Skubal, he's still. It still looks like he's getting bugged a little bit. He's got some rust on him. I mean, he's still Tarik Skubal, as far as I'm concerned. And Tarik Skubal is going to look good in a Dodgers jersey or a Yankees jersey or whatever kind of jersey. But yeah, if they don't ship this kid out at the deadline is I believe August 5th, and if Tarik Skubal is still a Tiger past that deadline, I will be shocked and saddened because this team is going nowhere. That's just my thoughts on it. So I don't know if you had anything you wanted to share with that, Mark.
They got to get over 500 by mid-July and the top two in the AL Central by the end of July. Sell if they're still, they're going to sell. I'm going to tell you right now, they're not going to be even anywhere close to that.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see Gleyber Torres gone. I think you're going to see Tarik Skubal gone. There's going to be power hitter. The only one that's, I think, really untouchable is Dylan Dingler, Kevin McGonigal, and Riley Green. Everybody else can go bye-bye. To me, that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
So I'm not selling high on the Tigers. I'm selling low, baby, all day on the Tigers. I think they're, unfortunately, we're going to have at least another 3 years before we're going to see reputable Tigers baseball. So might have to take AJ Hinch on that one too. I don't know. Nothing against the guy, but they're probably just going to look for a fresh redo.
Yeah, he's been here for a long time. He's been here since around the pandemic. It's just, and how many times, like last year notwithstanding, but, the end of last year, we remember, I know the 2024 miracle thing, but look, I don't care about that anymore. And you know what? I don't care about any of these other teams, like little miracle runs they have, because it didn't result in a ring. They didn't get a ring. And also, it's not the same team anymore. The expectations have changed. How many times do we see, big expectations be put on the Tigers and they just shit their pants? With the way the team's constructed now, I got to look at their schedule a little bit more, but still, they're losing to bad teams too. Still, I'm not taking, the Rays thing was fun. The Rays lost the top spot in their division. They're going through a bit of a tough time. We just caught them at the right time. It's just one of those things. And a lot of Tigers fans, every time Tigers get a little bit of a hot streak going, they win like 5 of 6 or 8 of 10 or something. I got to hear like, oh, they're coming back. Bro, you can't base your team's future on a fucking hot streak they had for a couple weeks in June. I refuse to do it. But yeah, this team is still Not going anywhere. Trade Skubal towards some other guys. Could have AJ Hinch and rebuild around McGonigal, Clark, Job, and Melton. That's what a smart GM would do. I don't know if that GM is going to be. I mean, I know Scott Harris is the president of baseball operations. I mean, we got a GM, that Jewish guy, but I don't know what's going on with this. But yeah, Tigers are in a bad way right now. It's we talk about injuries and whatnot, but we got to be realistic with ourselves. We talked about the fans in this town falling in love with bad players or old players. We talk about running it back, bringing the band back together. There's a lot of things about Detroit sports and Detroit sports culture that drive me crazy. But it's just like, guys, the Tigers are cooked. The Tigers are cooked. And I don't want to be the kid, or I'm sorry, I don't want to be the guy, the mean guy that tells the kids there's no Santa Claus. Tigers are going nowhere this season. They got to sell. They got to get Skubal out of here. They got to get something for Skubal. If he walks at the end of the season because Scott Harris thinks they can somehow go on a miracle run again with nothing supporting it, then it'll be a massive indictment. Remember Al Avila, and he got rid of JD Martinez and Justin Verlander. He took apart those World Series rosters and got nothing for them.
Nothing.
This will be. You might as well just kept Al Avila for another 5-6 years if Scott Harris lets Skubal walk for nothing. That's all I'm going to say about it.
Not a bad take. I was actually going to say something similar with Al Avila and Scott Harris. Hopefully, Scott doesn't become the second coming of Mr. Avila, where you can make the easy picks, the first-round picks. But maybe looking like that. But no, that's it, Hermdo. I got nothing else. What about you?
That's all I got, Mark. I blew my load. That's all I got, buddy.
Well, listen, thank you everybody for joining us this evening again. Like I said, we do this on Sundays. We're starting to do it on Wednesdays now too, which is nice. So hop in. Those are more of the midweek recap, and then you've got the Sunday night mess, the drama, the Detroit drama. Thank you for all the comments. Thank you for the likes, the subscribes. Please share it with your friends. We're trying to get this thing to 500. We're super close. So whatever you have to do to get us some extra subscriptions, we're trying to exceed the 500 mark. So please do that. I'm Mark. I got nothing else. Hermdo, I think you got nothing else. I think we can say peace.
Bye-bye.